It's exactly 10 years ago to the day that I stood here on 7th Avenue in New York and watched the investment bank Lehman Brothers go bust. Now at the time, people said it'll be fine because the real economy is thriving. What they didn't realise was that the real economy, thriving as it seemed, was supported by $97 trillion worth of unsustainable and in many cases crazily borrowed debt. 10 years on, what did we learn? Well, what we expected was there'd be a bit of a recession and that people would begin paying down those debts. The opposite happened. There was a deep recession, but we recovered because central banks printed $20 trillion worth of very cheap, sometimes free money and gave it to the financial system. And the result is, guess what? We borrowed an extra $72 trillion worth of unsustainable debt. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is you can keep a world economy on life support by printing $20 trillion and propping up the banks with state aid. But what you can't keep on life support is an ideology. People's brains demand coherence and consistency, and what's happened is the ideology underpinning the whole system of free market economics we call neoliberalism has collapsed. And without a coherent ideology, there's no story. And so people start looking for other stories. And if I expect a crisis or a chaotic end to this period, it's not because I expect another big bank run and a financial collapse. It's because I expect the global system based on rules and multilateral obligations to come under pressure. And where has it come under pressure most? Right here in America, where the president has become a wrecking ball for the rules-based global order. Trump wants to reconfigure global capitalism in the interests of America only. We face a threat that is not really well understood by most people, just as the threat to the investment banks was not really well understood on the day that Lehman here collapsed. And the threat to the global order is this, that one after the other, major countries head for the exit for the global system, imposing the costs of the crisis, which is still not solved, on each other. And as that happens, the ruling elites in each country cease to buy into this sharing, caring capitalism, where all elites dip into the cookie jar in an equal manner, and actually encourage what they are now encouraging: xenophobia, ethnic nationalism, racism, misogyny, and ultimately, really far-right authoritarian forms of government. That's the payback for not dealing with the crisis that began here, but we can still do something about it. Before September 15th, 2008, neoliberalism's story was, it'll be like this forever, only better. Now the story is, it'll be like this forever, only worse. And people are just not going to accept that. So we face a different kind of crisis than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, the crisis was financial. Then it became economic. Now it's social, and it's fraying the global system. And we can do something about it. We can defeat authoritarian nationalists like Trump, like Viktor Orban, like Putin, like Boris Johnson in Britain, but only if we put forward an alternative economic model and build movements of ordinary people to resist. So it's strange to be standing here right on the corner where Lehman Brothers collapsed and knowing with hindsight what we should have done but didn't do, and knowing how severe the price is going to be unless we change course now.